All right, there might still be some people coming in, but Mariah, I think we can start the webinar.
I think that's a good idea. So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's TISGRADE webinar. So, my name is Marije Nijs. I'm the International Community Manager of Connect ITS Netherlands, and especially of our international label of Connect. That's the Smart Mobility Embassy. I'm stepping in today on behalf of Mark Verhagen, which the ITS Nationals members know not only as our the vice chair of the ITS Nationals, but also as the chair of Connect ITS Netherlands. So this webinar was set up for our ITS Nationals community and its members. And today we've got many countries here, like from the Netherlands, and I will have my speakbrief here: Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Estonia, Italy, Poland, Romania, Latvia, Spain, and Belgium and Finland. So we can say the interest on this project is high, which is great. Well, for Connect, three words are central to everything we do. So let's meet, connect, and discover, and with one shared goal. So making an impact through collaboration. So NDW, which Annette Veenendaal of NDW is a member, a highly appreciated member of Connect. And nationally, we do already many projects together. And today's webinar is a great example of the partnership internationally. So in this spirit, we believe collaboration doesn't stop at national borders. We need it internationally as well. So whether you are new to TISGRADE or already familiar with the subject, we hope we leave you today with a lot of inspiration, a lot of knowledge. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Barbara Waldmans, who is the moderator of today. So Barbara, back to you.
Yes, Annette, would you like to switch to the next slide?
If it is working, because I'm pressing the next one, but it's not, I'll share again.
Otherwise, I can also just say it. I would like to share some practical points of attention for this meeting.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yes, so this presentation will be shared with everyone after the meeting, so then you know that. The webinar should take only 1 hour, so we will be done at around 2:30. Feel free to turn on your camera because it's also nice to see who is in the call. And the webinar will be recorded. It's already being recorded now. So if that's something you don't like, then of course you can keep your camera off. There are 2 moments where we will do a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, write them in the chat and we will answer them during the Q&A session. You can also raise your hand, of course. And yeah, we will be answering your questions during those moments. So the agenda for today, we will start with an introduction of the TISGRADE project. And after that, introduce the pre-deployment validations. We will have a Q&A session then. And after that, we will have 3 presentations about roadworks communication, the tunnel and bridge closures, and the undesirable traffic routing, after which we'll organize another Q&A session. And then we will round off the webinar with some closing remarks and next steps in the project. So just to give a brief introduction on us, this is the project management team for TISGRADE. Annette van Veenendaal is the project lead, working at the NDW, which is the National Road Traffic Data Portal. Rutger and I are part of the project management team supporting Annette. And Rutger has actually just become father yesterday, so that's why he's not here right now. He's enjoying his newborn son. So I will be moderating the chat today. And we are very interested to see who is in this call. So if you would like to, please write the name of your organization and your country in the chat. And if possible, you could also add your LinkedIn profile there. And that gives us an idea of who's here. So then I would like to give the word to Annette to give you the introduction about TISGRADE.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. And I don't have a view on the chat, so please help me if there are any questions. And we also have a dedicated Q&A block within the agenda. A general overview of the TISGRADE project. TISGRADE stands for Traffic Information Services Upgrade Europe. It is a project that is funded by the European Union under the so-called CEF program, Connecting Europe Facilities. We have 54 partners on board, which is quite a substantial consortium, but on the other hand, it really helps to add to the goal of TISGRADE, which is upgrading the traffic information services. 21 countries involved. You see them here on the chart. All the blue countries are participating in TISGRADE. We started November last year, and the project will last till the end of 2028. That is when we have to fulfill all the obligations that are there in both the revision of the real-time traffic information delegated regulation as well as the RTTI relevant aspects of the revision of the ITS directive. So that project is fully focusing on meeting up with those obligations. NDW from the Netherlands is indeed the lead for the project. And we started last year and working hard now on all the elements of the project. We want to really upgrade traffic information services in Europe. It is also because there was a study done. Oh, I hear somebody, but no. There was a study done when the ITS directive was revisioned, and the current landscape of real-time traffic information data is very scattered. Sometimes there are no data available or only scarce availability, and when there's data available, the quality isn't always that good. So in TISGRADE, we really want to work on increasing this data availability, but also quality. And we do this with two means. One is providing road users with more accurate information so they can make well-informed choices and also on time. But there are two elements in the revision of the RTT-IDR that are also new, being traffic circulation plans and traffic management measures. And this also helps to make sure that in the navigation advices, the social impact of such advices is also taken into account. But how will we work on this within TISGRADE? First of all, we will work on increasing the overall real-time traffic information data availability. We will also work on improving the data quality by all kinds of validation mechanisms. When you have good quality data available, it's also very important that service providers can find it on the national access points and that the data is easily accessible. So that's also being done within TISGRADE to meet up with the minimum level of service of NetCore has defined for the national access points. We do this in public-private collaboration so that the data that is shared is also usable for service providers, and it's being shared in such a way that they can use it in their navigation services. Another new element of the RTTI revision and also the ITS directive revision is that we have to create a public-private feedback loop on data quality. There's no standard for it yet. We will work on that within TISGRADE. With all the work we are doing, we also want to increase the public-private collaboration because we see that it is very helpful to get to learn each other and understand each other's world better. As said before, we are doing this to get in line with the revision of the RTT-IDR as well as the RTTI aspects that are mentioned in the revision of the ITS directive. Here you see an overview of how we structured the whole project. The first three work packages, the first one is about project management, but the first content-wise related work package is about data collection because some countries don't have data available yet. So there is the opportunity for those countries to start collecting data, also collecting data to use them as validation for information that they have already available. Second part of work package 2 is also the deployment of digitization tooling. For instance, traffic laws, if you have them available on paper, according to the ITS directive, you have to make them digitally available in a format that service providers can use. So relevant tooling is very important. The new data elements from the RTTI-DR, like traffic circulation plans and traffic management measures, also need tooling to make them digitally available, as well as bringing data forward about planned roadworks and also road and lane closures that might come up unexpectedly. Work package 3 focuses totally on data quality validation, and we thought there would be a difference in dynamic of the quality validation of more static data, like for instance maximum speed, versus the quality validation of really real-time going on data like roadworks and road closures. So that's why we made a difference between those two. As mentioned before, also very important that the data are easily findable and accessible on the national access point. That is something that Work Package 4 will focus on, and all the national access points that are involved in this project will meet up with the minimum level of service that NEPCOR and the follow-up of NEPCOR has defined. The final Work Package is focusing on the creation of a public-private feedback loop on data quality. We do that in two means. One is the real-time electronic data exchange feedback loop. For instance, the real-time feedback, are roadworks indeed really going on? But we also are organizing quarterly meetings with service providers to tackle practical issues that go wrong, get use cases at the table and see what went wrong, how can we improve this. So really getting to know each other more and understanding each other's work, and it's very valuable to have such discussions. How is TISGRADE positioned towards, for instance, NEPCOR? Some of you are also part of the RTTI task force. Here you see an overview of the whole governance structure of TISGRADE. At the bottom you see the content-wise work packages that we are having. In work package 1 we have the more project management related activities. When we started the project, lots of partners indicated they would really like to think along, but maybe not do actual pre-deployment validations. And that's why we created a public-private technical group that you see in the structure within Work Package 6. This public-private technical group is open for everybody who wants to join the discussion, because it's very important that we come up with solutions that work for both a public as well as private side. Also very important that road authorities are getting engaged in this whole domain. Previously, the whole ITS applications, data, etc., was mainly focusing on the TEN-T network, so the highways, the really important network connections. But now there is an extension of the geographical scope, and Europe has also more attention for the urban nodes and the connections between cities. So that means that road authorities that weren't involved before, like cities or regions, now also have to get active in this domain, and it's a whole new world for them. So very important, because they are at the beginning of the whole data value chain, that they are involved as well, and that they know why making data available is so important also to reach their own policy goals. At project management level, we made a distinction between decisions that are made within the project, so having new partners on board, or a budget shift, or an amendment. Those decisions are made in the project board, but since there are also very elements that are aligned with the implementation of the revision of the RTTI-DR, we also created a strategic board where only the member states are represented. Once we have found out, for instance, how we could digitize traffic circulation plans, we can come to an advice that we'll be giving to the member states RTTI task force. now 60 member states are there represented, and they are aligning on a more strategic level with service providers on how to implement the revision of the RTT-IDR, and that advice can be given to NEPCOR for European-wide decision-making. There are also other entities that are very much related to the work that we are doing in TISGRADE, like for instance the work in C-Roads, data for road safety, but also other related ITS and CITS projects. And we have an ambassador of those in the different activities within TISGRADE. There are some new elements within the RTT-IDR, and we also need new tooling because of the new data types that we need to make available. And before we move over to large-scale implementation, it's very important that we find out, is this really the way to go forward, and to come up with new standards for instance, how to digitize traffic circulation plans, temporary traffic management measures. There's no standard for it yet. But also how we can deal with improving the overall data quality. And we do that for the use cases for the data of maximum speeds, roadworks, and road and lane closures, because they are one of the crucial data categories in the RTT-IDR, and they really have the interest of both public as well as private parties. As said before, the public-private feedback on data quality is also new, no standard yet. So we will work this out, think how an architecture could work, and then we do some pre-deployment validations before we move over to large-scale implementations. And all these PDVs, to make it short, are part of work package 2, 3, and 5. The PDVs are located all over Europe in different type of background situations, in cities, in regions, sometimes on national level. They have different starting points that we already see that some countries have to come from far, or they are already quite advanced. And it's really interesting to see where do we come from and to come up with solutions that work in all the different background situations. So it's usable all over Europe. And we can test up front, for instance, the digitization of traffic circulation plans. Once we have found out a way of thinking public-privately agreed on that could work, it's very important that we test it out in practice to see if it doesn't have any negative consequences or we need to redefine somehow. And we will do these pre-deployment validations both in urban areas and regions, also because of the new data elements that are within the spectrum. But we also do pre-deployment validations on large corridors. And we make sure to involve all the stakeholders that are in the ecosystem, so the road authorities who are responsible for collecting and providing the data, the national access points for making them accessible, and service providers that have to include them into their services. Here you see an overview of all the pre-deployment validation locations. As mentioned before, some are cities, some are a region within a country. So it's quite diverse, and we do them all over Europe. Here you see an overview of the planning, because in the end, the focus of TISGRADE is really on large-scale implementation to meet up with the revision of the RTT-IDR. And we take a 1-year period for the pre-deployment validations before we move over to large-scale implementation. The traffic circulation plans and temporary traffic management measures are quite new, but we have elaborated a plan for it that's almost finalized. And after summer, the pre-deployment validations for that will start, and they will last 1 year. After that, we will move over to evaluation of these PDVs and come up with a suggestion that will be presented via the strategic board, RTTI task force, to NEPCOR on how to come up with a standard before we move over to large-scale implementation. The pre-deployment validations on improving data quality, they are starting as we speak. The plans for this has just been accorded in the project management board. All the PDV locations are working very hard right now to make all the plans more concrete and to really start adding new sources to the data available, to make cross checks. All kinds of initiatives are now being rolled out. Although we are looking to employ the feedback of service providers already in the PDVs of Work Package 3 for the quality validation, a large-scale implementation of a European-wide public-private feedback loop on data quality will take some time to elaborate, so that one is foreseen more later in time. And that was it for the general overview. And before we move over to more concrete use cases and how TISGRADE will work on this, maybe first have a Q&A block to see if there are any questions so far. And I don't have any view on the chat, or
There's
so
no
maybe,
questions in the chat yet.
No
No.
questions. Yeah, so to make it more concrete, we included some practical examples, and one was really actual, but that's the next one I will present. The first one, and you might recognize this, is communication about roadworks. On the left hand, you see an article that was published last year, November, in Belgium News. They had huge roadworks going on. And what happened is that there was an alternative route facilitated by Vlaams Verkeerscentrum, so the Belgium traffic management agency, that if people drove just a little bit further along the highway, then there was a detour facilitated, which they could have saved lots of minutes by selecting that route. But what they saw in practice is that everybody followed their navigation system. So as you can see in the article, there was a really traffic chaos. Also, the term waste zombies was mentioned because everybody followed their traffic navigation services, and lots of people were detoured. The first possibility that they get presented, but the alternative route was there to be used, but nobody navigated to it. So there was really a waste of energy for all the road users, for road service providers, but also for the road authorities that did a hard work of facilitating an alternative route. Maybe you recognize such examples, but this is really something that we want to prevent in the future with TISGRADE. And how will TISGRADE then work on this, and how can we prevent happening such situations in the future? Well, we do that by two means. First is having better quality data available on roadworks. Some countries don't have roadworks data available yet. Some already have, but then the quality is not always that good. If we provide roadworks data, then do it also in a way that is usable for service providers, so that road users can be informed on time and that they can chart smart choices if they still have an alternative to choose from. First, we'll do that by getting tooling in place to share data on planned roadworks. But we all know that if we have planned roadworks, that's not always the same as the actual roadworks, because it might be very hard, especially when you're in regional or city roads, to find out when did the roadworks exactly start. When did they end is also very relevant. And we will do all kinds of pre-deployment validations on improving that data quality. So use other data sources, like for instance, floating car data, but also output of the feedback loop of the service providers. So working together on having a better overview of what's going on outside. We also want to increase the use of such data, making service providers more aware of all the data that is already there available, and we can have discussions on that in the quarterly meetings that we are organizing with them, but also making these data easily more easily accessible, to make them in line with, I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but the TISA has came up with a 5-star data quality proposal where different criteria are in there to make the data more easily machine readable, like using the large standard, the large data format, the right geo-referencing, so that will really help to get the data used by the service providers. But also because road authorities are so important at the beginning of the whole data value chain, to help them to make them aware of the importance of data and also help them with practical guidance on how can they make these data available. And looking back at the example of Antwerp, there was an alternative route available that was prepared. People could have a really good shortcut to save some time. That was not presented to the road users present in the area. There is no standard yet for how to communicate a temporary traffic management measure like such a detour already to service providers. We will work out a proposal on how to do so, and we are quite far advanced, and we will explain more about it in a webinar that will take place later in time, a so-called TISGRADE talk. We come up with a way of how can we digitize this and make it digitally available, and we will test it in practice in the pre-deployment validations to see is this actually usable for service providers, and does this indeed help to prevent such situations. We also want, if we have come up with a good solution, for instance, for a standard to digitize these traffic management measures, like detours that are available, then we want to collaborate with the RTTI task force and in the end NetCore to come to agreements with service providers that if we provide data in a good format that we agreed on and with a certain quality, that those data are also being used by service providers to advise their customers. Another example, and this one is from Austria, and on the left hand you see an article from this weekend. There was a huge demonstration at the Brenner Pass. The people there living in the surrounding areas are really fed up with all the huge amounts of traffic and lorries driving there, not only on the Brenner Pass, but as soon as there's something going on, traffic leaves the highway immediately and are looking for detours, including heavy good vehicles, and that's something that really shouldn't happen. And the people were so fed up that they demonstrated last Saturday. The demonstration was communicated by ASFINAG to all the service providers, so luckily they knew in time, and all the people that could have a detour were informed in time, so the traffic jams were wide. The other picture you see is the current measures that ASFINAG has taken, because right now, when there is a traffic jam or tunnel closure, it's now forbidden to leave the highway if you do not have a destination in the surrounding area, just to prevent all these undesirable traffic on such routes that they are not designed for. So these are very heavy measures that come up with some kind of solution, but it would be better to prevent it in the future. And this is also a use case that ASFINAG would like to work on within the TISGRADE project. How can TISGRADE work on this? Well, first, by improving data availability, but also the quality of closures of roads and lanes, and also tunnels and bridges, especially when they're planned up front, but also as soon as you have detected that a tunnel is closed due to unforeseen circumstances, it's very important to communicate this as soon as possible. So we will work on all kinds of data quality validations to get a more earlier detection, also by working more closely together with service providers, and use this public-private feedback loop on data quality to have a better understanding and a more sooner understanding of what's going on outside. ASFINAG told in the RTTI task force last Friday that if they communicate on tunnel closures, it's for more than 99% sure that the tunnel is actually closed. And that's something that we are also trying to find out in TISGRADE. We know as road authorities, sometimes the data that are sent out are of poor quality or unknown quality, but there are also data that are really good and are really trustworthy for service providers to be used. So maybe we can distinguish in the whole data set between not sure data versus these are authoritative data. We know 100% sure that the tunnel is indeed closed. And that could be very interesting for service providers to filter out those data items to prevent people getting stuck in closures that they didn't need to be in. Another measure that would help for these situations is having temporary traffic management measures available. Remember the example in Antwerp, sometimes there are very good alternatives, but then it's very important that service providers and road users are aware of such alternatives, but also that they know in time before they get stuck in some kind of closure that they didn't need to be in. What's also very important, that's as new data elements, are the traffic circulation plans. What we see when there are huge roadworks going on or road closures, the tendency is to detour and seek for an alternative, but sometimes routes are really not designed for such heavy good vehicles of such amounts of traffic. So it would really help if we indeed make the traffic circulation plans digitally available and that we come to agreements with service providers that they incorporate them into their services to really reduce the social impact of the routing in the navigation advices. And a final example that's about undesirable traffic routing. I put some pictures on the left to show you the impact of navigation services. On the top you see it was a German artist and he put 99 smartphones in a car and put Google Maps on, and he took the car and just walked on the roads in Berlin, and Google Maps thought, oh, there must be a huge traffic jam or people are getting stuck. So there was no traffic there. So that highlights the importance of what information is given by navigation service providers to road users, and that people really listen to this and follow up what they are presented. At the bottom on the left, you see two figures from a Dutch smart mobility monitor. Every 2 or 3 years, we monitor how the use is of digital navigation services. And what we saw is over the last few years that the follow-up behavior of the roadside systems, so traffic signs, dynamic route paneling, is really declining, and people are trusting more and more on their navigation advices. On the right figure, you see that especially for young people, when there's conflicting information between the roadside and what is shown in car, they really tend to follow the in-car information that is given, and probably this will increase in the future. So in-car information about how to drive and where to drive is really important, and that's also that TISGRADE will work upon. First, we will do that by increasing the data quality, but also availability on traffic laws, and we use maximum speed as a use case with the hope, not sure yet, that the work that we do on maximum speed data quality validation could be copied also to other traffic laws, but it's very important that road users are informed on where they can drive and how they can drive, for instance, what the maximum speed is. We do all kinds of quality checks and balances on these data, and we use maximum speed, as said before. We really want to see how the TISA 5-star rating proposal works in practice and see how we can make the data in line with the criteria that are in there that make the data more easily processable for service providers. And we also want to do some cross checks with other data sources. For instance, some countries are working on using panoramas or 3D images to detect signs from the surroundings and check them with the data that they have already available in their database and see if there are any discrepancies and whether or not the database needs adjustments. Here we can also have a look at data that we have validated and that we know for sure that is correct. Maybe have that data prioritized to be used by service providers instead of the data that we haven't checked. And also very important that we get the whole road authorities engaged, because they are at the beginning of the data value chain, and it's very important that they also know the importance why they should share such data. And the other thing is that we take into account the traffic circulation plans, for instance, not sending heavy goods vehicles on a small village road, or preventing people driving next to a school when the school is going in and out. We have worked out a proposal how to digitize this, and we'll start the deployment validation of that within August, when we have come up with a solution that really works, and we will evaluate it after a year and to see whether or not we need to adjust. We can come to a standard for that via the RTI task force and NEPCOR, and then we move over to large-scale implementation. And these were the practical examples that we wanted to share with you to make it more tangible of the work being done in TISGRADE and how it could maybe also help your work. And Jens, would you like to motivate your question, or the question is what are your...
Yeah, perhaps. Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we can.
Cool. And that's the camera. Yeah, well, my name is Jens, and I'm from Public Transport Authority in Denmark, Movia, are we called? And my question is, how are your experiences with sort of prompting data and data on known road work to Google Maps, for example? I mean, can we front load them with this knowledge?
Yeah, first of all, it's very important, and we also hear that from Google, that they would like to have an overview, as far as NEPCOR hasn't provided yet, of all the relevant RTTI data streams that are there for all the European countries. Where can they find it on the national access point? Sometimes it's just a practical example of not knowing that the data are there, so that would really help. And what we see with service providers like Google Maps is that they really like that we are joining forces on a European level to make maps also for them. It becomes more interesting for huge players like Google Maps when data is available at a large scale. So you can work on having better data available just for your own. But by joining forces, we hope indeed that Google Maps becomes more interesting, as well as other service providers, to really digest the data. And Google Maps indicated that they're also very interested in working together with all the TISGRADE partners, indeed on the data quality, because what we learned from interviews with all different service providers, also on behalf of the RTI task force, and Joachim was here as well, he also joined these discussions. The data quality is so relevant for service providers to use these data. Are you having any experience yourself, Jens, with this?
As I think many large bus companies have constantly problems with the roadworks in cities, causes delays and derouting or rerouting bus lines. So that's sort of a problem that we are facing towards the municipalities that owns the roads. But most of the traffic is not from the buses, it's from cars, especially cars that can't find their way through all these types of roadworks. So that's why I'm asking the question how the municipalities in our case that owns the roads could be better at providing this data.
Yeah, that's very good that you're mentioning that. That's also why we included in the TISGRADE work set up to have a dedicated road authority engagement group, which we are about to start, because these road authorities are new to the game, and it's so important that they know the importance of sharing those data, and also if they want to share data, how to make those data available. So an open invite for everybody who has thoughts on how to increase this road authority engagement are really welcome to join us in the discussion on this topic.
Thank you.
Annette, would you like me to do this, or?
Oh, yeah, the TISGRADE work website is about to go live, maybe today or tomorrow, working on the final details. So that will give you an opportunity to keep updated, to get some more background information about who is participating in the project, the service providers we have on board, Google Maps, TomTom, here, Trip Service, and Be Mobile. So quite a substantial group of service providers as well. You can always follow our LinkedIn page, and maybe Barbara, you can put the LinkedIn in the chat. There will also be a possibility to sign up for our newsletter. The first one will be sent out today or tomorrow, also when the website is live. As mentioned before, the public-private technical group is open for also non-TISGRADE partners to join discussions, and we are planning the next one in the autumn of this year. And we will organize a first TISGRADE talk. Those will be organized in sometimes a few times a year to update you on specific elements of TISGRADE. The first will be on June 23rd, and it will be about what we are planning to do in the pre-deployment validations for digitizing traffic circulation plans and traffic management measures. There are different locations in Europe planning to do the PDV on this, together with service providers and the involved national access points. So we will give you an overview of all the plans that will be executed, and give this also the opportunity to think along. And if you want to join the TISGRADE talk on June 23, you can send an email to Barbara. And if you have more general information request, you can always send an email to me. And we agreed with Marije that she will make sure that you receive all the slides, that the link to the recording will also be included. And we also have a 2-pager with some very short information and a recap of the project that will be sent afterwards as well. And this was it on behalf of our side.
Well, thanks very much, Annette, and thanks to all the ITS nationals who are willing to participate, their members, and thanks to Barbara just for joining in, and for Rutger for being a father. So you did a great job. So on behalf of ITS Netherlands, thank you very much. I wish you a good day, and maybe Barbara, you would like to end this as our stand-in moderator, just to say the last few words.
Yeah, just thank you very much for joining, and hope that you'll join in the future for other webinars or the TISGRADE talk that we're organizing, which you can find on the slides that we will share with you. All right.
Thanks to
Have a
everybody,
nice
and good afternoon.
Thank you for participating.